You frivolously squandered your life, and now I am going to defeat you and banish you to the Shadow Realm. Bro, I think you're playing the wrong game. You might think you have Yu-Gi-Oh. Quiet, because your board is full of blockers, and your blockers mean nothing to my Shanks card. Okay, like a little extra, dude, but I guess that's fine. I am going to use all of my available Dawn on my Shanks. Can you block 20,000? Can you counter 20,000? Four Itzos for 8,000. 4 Otamas for 8,000. So 16,000, 2,100. Law's safe. What? All right, so as you guys can see, we're doing the counter video today. So I'm going to be telling you guys everything about counter in the One Piece TCG. So first off, there's a couple different counters that we have. We have the 2K counters here, like Gordon. It's all have them pop up on the screen so you can see. How you tell is it's on the side here. You have your 1K counters. For this one, I'm going to be showcasing Robin. Really good card. I'm going to kind of explain a little bit in the video. And then we have event counters. They're usually higher counter, but you have to actually pay. You have to leave Dawn up for them. So if you've tapped all of your Dawn, you can't use them. So that means that you can kind of play around if somebody has 2 Dawn or 3 Dawn open at the end of their turn. You can kind of anticipate that they have one of these event cards, right? Okay, so first off, how it works is the battle enters, then you go into the counter stage, and for counters, so we got this 5,000. So that means I have to exceed the attack. So if they're attacking me for 6,000, I have to pitch a Gordon here for 2,000. If they're attacking me for 5,000, all I have to do is pitch like a 1,000 counter, like a Robin here, right? So basically that's how that works is you have to exceed the attack. Okay, and now I'm going to go into all of the different 2K counters, and we're going to kind of put them in a tier list. So first off, we're going to start off with Gordon. He's a 2K counter. You may place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck and you draw a card. So what he does is he cycles your cards. He doesn't actually give you any advantage. So I'm going to put him in kind of like the B tier. He's worth playing because it's 2K counter, but he's not really amazing anyway. You have a Sanji here. What he does is you may add 1 card from your life area to your hand. He gains 2,000 and you can put 2 Rested Dawn on him, and then he attacks. So he can attack for 7,000 when you do this, but it is risky because you're taking a life, but it can be good because sometimes people don't want to swing into your life as red. So I'm going to put him in like the A tier. Generally people like to run him a lot because he gives you card advantage. The only thing is he's a risk. Then you have Usopp. Okay, Usopp, he will draw 1 card when your opponent activates an event. You have to put a Dawn on him to do so. He's good. I think he's okay. The issue is that not a lot of people are running events, so if the meta changes, he's probably going to become a lot better because he's going to draw you a lot more cards. But anytime that you can have something that draws you cards, it's really good. It's just the reason why he's kind of on the, in the middle where he's is because he doesn't consistently draw you cards. Then you have Brook, banger of a card. Most people play 3 to 4 of him because he's just a great card. So on play, you give one of your characters 2 Rested Dawn, which what that does is he pays for himself. So he's like S tier. He's like somebody who you're almost always going to see him if you're going to be playing red. Otama, minus his 2,000 power when you play, cost 1. Amazing card, 2K counter. There's just no reason why you're not going to be running 4 of them because they synergize with a couple different cards. I'm going to go into the kill effects on a different video, but the one card that she synergizes really well is with Nico Robin, which is times 1 Dawn, KO up to one opponent characters with 3,000 power or less, which means that Otama makes it so you can take out like a 5k with her, which is just it's a good card, good interaction. This is also S tier. All of the 1k counters, so this is a 1k counter, they're all going to be in the S tier because I didn't really want to showcase like cards that aren't particularly great. Then you have Nami, which she nets you a card. She replaces herself, which is really powerful, and she gives you the top 5 cards choice. So you can actually get the card that you want to win the game or that you need to win the game with her. So she's just like obviously S tier. Okay. Then we have Radical Frankie Beam. So this is the first event. It costs 1, which means you have to leave 1 Dawn open to play it, right? But if you have, it gives you one of your characters 2,000 power, and then if you have 2 or less life cards, it's an additional 2,000 power. So generally, it's giving you 4,000 power for 1, which is really good. I'd put this in like the Sanji, maybe Usopp, probably mid, because this is played a lot in like Law. It's not really played that much in actual like Zoro or. And then you have a Green Star, Rafflesia or whatever. But anyway, this gives you it gives one of your leader or one of their characters minus 2,000 power, which works well with a certain card, but it's just generally because it's a counter, it's not that great. So you're going to generally want to plus your characters because the pluses are more, rather than minusing their character because it's just. The only thing that makes it maybe a play is if you're going to be using the Red Hawk synergy, which on counter it gives 4,000 power to a character or leader, but it KOs one of your opponents with 4,000 or less. So this can make it so that you KO things with the Green Star Rafflesia. You can KO something that you can with the Red Hawk. So that makes it really strong. But the major thing is with the Red Hawk, I'd say. It's like mid. It's probably closer to like here, mostly because it's easy to play around by using Dawn. So then we have Guard Point. Guard Point, great card. For 1, it gives you 3,000 power, and then I'm going to go over triggers. So I'm going to not talk about any of the triggers because I'm going to do a trigger video as well. But this I'd put in the mid tier, like Radical Frankie Beam, because I'd say in some cases the Radical Frankie Beam's better, in other cases Guard Point's better. Okay, so now we're going to be moving over to the purple 2K counters. So you have Kurozumi Otri. He makes you get the artificial Devil Fruit Smile, which there's just not great support for that card. It would be amazing if he'd be better, right? If that card was actually good, but because it's good, he's just like not even really worth playing at all. There's most scenarios you're just never really going to want to see him. He is a 2K counter, which is nice, but as you're going to see, the 2K counters in purple are pretty stacked. So you have Sasaki. Times 1, when attacking, you may trash 1 card from your hand, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck, and rest it. So this ramps you for the next turn, which is really good. And he swings for 5, which makes it so that they're going to have to be pitching cards to protect against him. So I'd put him. He's like generally like probably Sanji, I'd say. He's not like the best of them, but he's good. Then you have X-Drake. On play -1 Dawn, and then your opponent trashes 1 card from their hand. So this actually gets rid of your opponent's cards. It is 5 for a 5K, which is pretty rough. But the fact that you're taking a card from them already, just from him coming out, is really strong. Especially if you're doing it later. Because if they only are holding on to 2 cards, they have to trash something that they want to hold on to, So I would put him like probably Sasaki, maybe closer to S, but I don't know if he actually makes the cut for that because S is a pretty tall order. So we have Ulti, 2K counter, really good, gives you another body. So sometimes if you happen to have the right synergy, the only thing is you have to have another card in your hand. But what she does is -1, and you put a page 1 card with a cost of 4 less from your hand. So you can literally play her, and then you play one of the page 1s. This page 1, for -1 Dawn, he can attack active characters, which is good ability. And then you have the big body page 1. So it just depends like which one of these to run with Ulti. It's kind of just a question of, do you want to attack active characters or do you want to have a big body to like just swing at people? But anyway, so they're only really worth running if you're running Ulti. So I'm going to be putting these kind of over in the like the Red Hawk because they're dependent on having another card. And ulti, you're generally going to be running her, so I'm going to put her like right here in like the guard point. The only thing is she's a 2K counter, and she can give you a good tempo, which is boss. Then you have, in my opinion, probably one of the best purple cards, which is Queen. Right, Queen just wrecks, great blocker, a big body blocker for 5. So he's 6K 5 for a blocker, -1 Dawn, and you draw 2 cards and then you discard 1. So it is just a super good card. You can use it for a lot of things. It replaces itself, and it also lets you cycle through your deck. So you get like the cards that you want, and sometimes you get rid of a card that wasn't even helping you. So I'm going to put him in the S tier. I would basically almost always I'm going to be running 4 of him, unless it's like unless I'm doing some weird different strategy. Then you have Blast Breath. -1 Dawn gives 4,000 power during the battle for 1, which is just really strong nuts card. The only thing is you have to keep a Dawn open, which can be good, which can be hard, but it like saves you. It is just a really good interaction. So then you have Thunder Bagya. Up to one of your leader character cards gets 4,000 for 2 cost. Then if you have 2 or less life cards, add up to 1 Dawn. So it ramps you, and it also protects your leader. So this one's pretty good. I'm probably going to put in the maybe pile because you're probably not going to run a ton of them, right? And then you have the Ulti Mortar. So what it does is -2 Dawn and put up to one of your leader cards gains 2,000 power during this battle and draw a card. Okay, so then we have the Ulti Mortar. It's -2 Dawn. Your leader or character gets 2,000 power up to 1, and then during this battle, then draw a card. So it's really good. It draws you cards, which is good. The issue is -2 Dawn is a very stiff cost, and one of the downsides is you can only have so many things that minus Dawn in your Kaido. Otherwise, you're going to just be constant. You're never going to be able to get to your top end, which is really the strong part. So good. It's situational depending on what your strategy is. But drawing you a card, replacing itself, very good effect. So I'm going to put it here in that you kind of have to plan around it rather than it just being like a shoe-in like a lot of the other cards we're talking about. Okay, now we're going to be moving into the 2K counters for green. So we have Scratch Manapoo. Just when attacking, he rests one of your Dawn cards. So he can. He's someone that you generally don't want to play, but he can stop people from using vents, which can be pretty good. But I generally just have him in for a 2K counter, so I'm going to put him in the mid tier, mostly due to the fact that you're almost never going to want to play him. Then you have Itzo, and Itzo is just banger card. It rests one of your opponent's characters with a cost 4 or less, cost 3, 2K counter. It is one of the most oppressive cards in the green kit, and it also comes with a 2K counter. I mean, it's just really good early play. It makes it so that you can kill some of their. You can rest their characters, makes it so that you can swing on them. So it's really good board control, and it also has a 2K counter. Just like no reason not to run them in most of the decks that you're running. Okay, so I'm going to throw this obvious S tier, just amazing. Yeah, Beppo. So Beppo would be really good if it wasn't for the fact that he doesn't have a lot of support, right? So there's only a few cards that you can actually use for him. So you can put out Penguin and Sachi, which are like the major things. They're blockers on play. If you don't have Sachi in play, you can bring a Penguin out, and that's vice versa. So they play off of each other, so you can get 2 for 1 with them. But with Beppo, you can get next turn you can have 3. You can have 3 on the board, which is just a decent. It's not like the best. They're like one of them is a 2K blocker, one of them is a 4K blocker, which makes it so that you're paying 6, where you're paying 3 for 6 power, which is okay. But there's just better things to do in green. So I'm gonna put all of these kind of on the. Like, you can run them. Usually, most people run Beppo. It's for the counter, or it's for the counter effect and not his actual effect. Okay, and now Nekomamushi. he costs 2 and he taps 3 or less. So in some ways, because he costs less, he's better than Itzo. But Itzo has can tap 4s, which makes him better. But it just depends on, do you want to, is it more important for you to have the extra Dawn, or is it more important for you to have the tempo? Okay, so here we go. This obvious S tier, because he's just like another version of an S tier card. So then we have Jewelry Bonnie. Tap, pay 1, tap it. Look at the top 5 cards in your library, or look at the top 5 cards in your deck, and then you pick 1 card out because you rest it, and then you pick out a Supernova, which makes it so it's really good in Law, because you can, like most things, you can pick out with Jewelry Bonnie, and it's really good in Green. Just banger card. This is one of the like major cards that people run, and it's just amazing. So you have Jewelry Bonnie. Almost always, I'm going to be playing a 4 card. I'm going to be playing 4 of them. So you have Kozuki Momonosuke. So he, you may rest this character. Look at top 5 cards of your deck. You can get a land of Wano type. He's really good. And he's 1k counter. The issue is that you have to be running a lot of the Wano toolkit, and it's just, you might not be running a ton of the Wano toolkit if you're running the Supernova toolkit, which gives you access to better cards. Okay, so this I'm going to be putting in like the A, because he's clearly a really good card, because anything that gives you advantage is strong. So then you have X-Ray, and on play, he KOs one of your opponent's characters with cost 4 or less. So he's good. He kills characters. That's really strong. Definitely a good time. He costs 5, so he's a little expensive to kill a 4 cost, but he has a 6k body. So he's pretty good. I'd put him in like the mid, because he's kind of generally somebody who's on the chopping block for when I'm building, because he's good, but there's a lot of better things that you can be doing with Green. Okay, and then you have Paradise Waterfall, banger card. You probably want to be playing 2 of them. It costs 1. It gives your leader or one of your characters gains 2,000 power during this battle, then set one of your characters active. So what makes this really good is, let's say someone was swinging 5, I could use Sachi to block it. Then I could Paradise Waterfall to give it 6,000 and unrest it. So then I can block twice with the same blocker. So that's just good card, works well with blockers. Just really strong. It's something that most people run at least a number of. Because they're not running 4 of them, I'm going to put it in the A tier. You have a Scalpel, which your leader or one of your characters gains 2,000 power during this battle, then set one of your Dawn as active. So it pays for itself, but you have to leave a Dawn open. So it's just it only gives you 2k, so this is kind of in the mid. You could maybe play it. There's probably a place for it in certain, when they make more decks that are a lot more event heavy, it's going to be good. But at this point, characters are just the way to go. So you have Repel. Your leader or one of your characters gains 4,000 power this turn, and then set one of your Dawn cards as active. It costs 2, so it technically costs 1, but you have to leave 2 Dawn open, which makes it meh. Mostly because you're getting 4k and there's just better things. When you're doing 2 for a 4k counter, the obvious choice is the next one. So I'm going to put this in there with the Scalpel. It can be useful, but it's generally not going to, it just doesn't make the cut because there's better cards. So then you have Punk Gibson. Add up to one of your leader or character cards gains 4,000 power during this battle, then rest up to one of your opponent's characters with cost 4 or less. So this wins you games. It just wins you games because let's say they attack with their leader, you do a 4k 4k counter, and then you rest their Zoro. You rest big threats with it, and that's the thing that's nice about it, is you can take away an attack with it, and it also counters. So this is I'd say you're not gonna run a ton of them because it costs 2 to do, but the effect's really powerful. Great card. Okay, now we're going to be moving on to the blue cards. Okay, so we have Dracula Mihawk. When attacking, draw 2 cards, then trash 2 cards from your hand. So you have to put 1 Dawn on him, but he's just great. There's most people run between 2 and 4 of them. because he has 2K counter, so you can use him for a 2K counter, or he can help you cycle through your deck, which is just strong. It's really good. He's a loot effect on a body, so I'm going to put him in like the S tier because you're going to be running a lot of them. So Bond Clay, which is when attacking, reveal one Baroque type's event card and add it to your hand. Then put the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. So this is really good in Blurpodile because you're running a lot of events, but for the most part, it's kind of a meh card. It's very situational because you have to be running a lot of events to get the value off it. So I'm going to put that in like the maybe pile. Then you have Alvida, which is when attacking, you may trash one card from your hand, then return up to one opponent characters with the cost of 3 or less to its owner's hand. So this can be good because you return blockers, which is a strong effect. So you take this, I'm going to put this, and it's a 2K counter. You're usually running like 4 of them. You're generally going to use it for a 2K counter, but that's not a bad thing. And it is just a really, the effect can be really strong and win you games. So I'm going to put this in the like A tier. Then you have Boa Hancock, which on block or on attack, it draws you a card. And it's a 4 for a 5K blocker, so really strong card. You're going to want to usually run like 4 of them. That's like a staple in blue. Definitely great card. You have Prona, 1K counter. You can look at the top 5 cards and then you put them in any order. So strong card. That's a A tier. You have Doflamingo, 1K counter. On play, look at the top 5 cards. He does the exact same thing that Prona does, but he's a 4K blocker, which is just nuts card. Definitely want to include. So then you have the Overheat, right? Overheat, great card. Like up to 1 leader or character gains 4K power during this battle. Then return up to 1 active character card with 3 or less to the hand. So it can return a blocker, or it can return something else that's going to be swinging. So this you can return like Zoro or something with it, which is a great effect. The only thing with Zoro is the downside. If they have any open Dawn, they can just play him again. But definitely good card. I'm going to put it in like the A tier because most people like to play him. You have the Officer Agents. Play 1 Baroque Works type card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So it's 2 and you can play a 3. Right, or so it's 2 and you can play a 3. So you can basically, like, let's say you could play a. It works well with certain cards. I'm gonna probably return back to this when I do a blocker video, so I can tell you guys all about blockers and everything like that. This is pretty good with blockers, but it's just kind of you have to have the right cards, which makes it so that in its own right, it's not an amazing card, and you probably want other stuff. So I'm gonna be putting it here in the like mid, like meh, like who knows, you know. We have the Desert Spada, which what this does is up to 1 of your leader or character gains 2K power, then look at the top 3 cards from the top of your deck and place them at the top or bottom of the deck in any order, which like that's pretty good, you know. You get because to the 2K powder, then you can look at the top 3, which makes it so that you can stack your deck, so you can control like what you're doing. So you can get like you can control what you're doing for the next turns. So I'd put this in like mid, could be good to play. It kind of just really depends. It's really good in things like Blurpodile. Okay, and then you have Thrust Bad Cannon, return up to 1 character with cost of 3 or less to its owner's hand. Pretty good. You can return things like when they attack, you can make it so that their next attack doesn't work. The only thing is with it costing 2, it just doesn't really hit enough things to make it really worth the 2 costs, because there's just a lot of better things that you can be doing with 2K. So I'm going to be putting it over here. And then you have the Crescent Cutlass. If your leader has the 7 Warlords of the Sea type, return 1 character with cost of 5 or less to your owner hand. So pretty good. You can only use him with like Crocodile at this point, which makes him like makes it limited. But returning a 5 cost or less to the owner's hand can be really good because you bring them back half a turn. But the cost of 3 is rough. So the only thing that you like, if you were to run like a Crocodile or something that minuses the cost of blue things, this would be better. But still a rough cost to return a 5. And the fact that you can't do it on main, you can only do it on counter. really just makes it a niche. You're not going to be using it as to its full ability, because it's a counter, you know. All right, so and then there's one more card that's definitely need to be showcased. So you have the Love Mellow Nuts card, one of the best events in the game. For 2, your leader or one of your character gains 4,000 power, then draw a card if you have 3 or less cards in your hand. So it replaces itself if you are low on cards, and it just like it does work because it makes it so that you can draw a card and then you can also counter off of that card if you need more counter, because it's still during the counter step. So like let's say you had something you wanted to counter with a Love Mellow, so you use the Love Mellow, you draw a card, and then you can use that to counter. So that's one of the nice things about that. It's a really good card. Definitely S tier. I don't know how that wasn't in the stack of cards, but I'm glad that I remembered, because Love Mellow, definitely you want to be running like at least 3 of them in most decks, because it's just a very, very good card. Because anytime that your counter replaces itself, it's just stupid strong. That is the everything counter video. If you guys like my content, and be sure to subscribe if you enjoy the stuff. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much. Just remember, it's Grandmaster Jank, and have a good day. Thanks. Bye-bye.